Breaking news exclusively from Blue Eye Media. And now from our global friendly partners.
And he said he would probably see Putin very soon. He referred to a starting point. So, despite the fact that President Trump called this an extremely productive meeting, and there's no reason to suggest that it wasn't, there doesn't seem to have actually been anything achieved, at least according to what the two men just said.
We have breaking news right now in a move that we should have all seen coming. There is no deal. Donald Trump was unable to secure a ceasefire deal with Vladimir Putin after nearly 3 hours of negotiations between Donald Trump and Putin. Folks, Donald Trump did everything to normalize Vladimir Putin. He allowed a war criminal into the United States of America without fear of arrest. He allowed a war criminal into the presidential motorcade, into the beast, without fear of arrest. And what did we get for it? Nothing. No ceasefire, no deal. And you know who suffers at the end of the day? The Ukrainians. And let me tell you something. It is stunning to see that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin walk off stage, not taking a single question during their press conference, with the last thing the world hears, how Donald Trump might soon be in Moscow visiting Vladimir Putin once again.
I would like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kiev and European capitals will perceive that constructively and that they won't throw a wrench in the works. They will not make any attempts to use some backroom dealings to conduct provocations to torpedo the nascent progress.
This evening, I come to you in a place of exasperation. 3 years ago today, I started doing this work with one mission: to tell the truth about what was happening in Ukraine as a Russian war criminal launched a major offensive against the Ukrainian people, a sovereign country that did nothing wrong. 3 years ago today, my family in Kiev, Ukraine, were literally clinging on to survival. My little cousin was sleeping under mattresses in a bathtub as bombs rained overhead as the initial days of Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine began. And today, a little over 3 years after the first troops crossed the border in Ukraine, we saw a war criminal be welcomed to the United States of America. No threat of arrest, smiles, and handshakes. If you all were alive back in the 60s and 70s, you may have remembered Walter Cronkite's famous Vietnam War report, in which he came on television and gave his personal commentary about the state of affairs on the ground in Vietnam. This moment was a turning point. It was a turning point for many in the war because Cronkite had done so well to never allow his personal views to be inserted into a conflict or into a news report. And when I started doing this work, I wanted to try to model myself off of Cronkite. No, I'm not anywhere near where he is and may never be even close to the journalist that he once was. But my goal was to work to bring the facts back to the news because there had been too much opinion and not enough fact. But tonight, I want to take a minute of personal privilege and break from my tradition and share with you my opinion. Because like Cronkite and the Vietnam War, I cannot sit back and allow what we are witnessing today to be normalized, especially given what I witnessed 3 years ago when Russia first invaded Ukraine. That night was the end of February, February 22nd or 23rd of 2022. And after weeks of mounting offensive, mounting pressure on the Ukrainian border, Vladimir Putin announced a special military operation into Ukraine. His announcement shook the world, and in that moment, instantly, Russian troops rushed across the Ukrainian border from all angles in an attempt to encircle Kyiv, the capital. They tried to take Kharkiv, which is the second largest town in Ukraine. They were successful in a multi-month siege of Mariupol, where thousands of Ukrainian civilians died. Since then, they have shelled towns, intentionally targeted civilians, launched drones targeting cities across Ukraine, from the most western portions of the country to the east. Now, this war didn't start in February of 2022. It started well before, when Russia first invaded Crimea back in 2014. But February 2022 was really a change because it was a full-scale invasion. It was an attempt to take all of Ukraine. And industry experts long said, you know what? Ukraine is going to fall within 24 hours, within 48 hours, within just a week or a month. They were all wrong. Every single expert was wrong about what was happening in Ukraine. And the Ukrainian people stood up, the Ukrainian people fought back, and my family was safe. Now, looking back at that time, today, I'm honestly personally disheartened to see where we have come as a nation. This is an anti-Trump. This is an anti-Republican. This is anti-normalizing a war criminal. And Vladimir Putin is a war criminal. He has an active arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court for war crimes. He was committing an ongoing genocide in Ukraine, one that has killed thousands of innocent civilians and displaced many more. He has taken Ukrainian children, kidnapping them and indoctrinating them into Russian culture. And it seemingly has now arrived in the United States of America, shaking hands with the American president, the leader of the free world, smiling and watching the American president clap upon his arrival. But not just that, Vladimir Putin was invited into the beast, Donald Trump, the American president's motor vehicle. Very few world leaders have ever been inside that vehicle, let alone a former KGB agent, and much to the dismay of many commentators watching.
Correct. And, I've organized these meetings before when I worked for President Obama. This is extraordinary that any president or prime minister gets into the president's car.
Yeah, I was going to say, has anyone gotten into the beast before?
There was one time President Medvedev went and got hamburgers with Barack Obama in 2010. I remember that. But this is very, very rare for any leader, any allied leader, any democratically elected leader, let alone this imperial.
This is a former KGB leader.
Here's the thing. I hope and I pray that the war in Ukraine stops. But Vladimir Putin does not want to end the war in Ukraine. A ceasefire, well, that's not peace. A ceasefire is a temporary halt in the fighting. And all it takes is for Vladimir Putin to want more and to go back, whether it's today, tomorrow, or in 2029, when Donald Trump is no longer president. And there's nothing more that Vladimir Putin wants than for Donald Trump to abandon European allies, to abandon Ukraine. And I personally hope that Donald Trump doesn't do that. Today, Hillary Clinton said something interesting. She said that she would nominate Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize if he was successful in getting a deal with Russia and Ukraine, in which Russia conducted a full withdrawal of troops from all of Ukrainian territory, a complete peace deal, not just a ceasefire. I tend to agree. Donald Trump fully will deserve a Nobel Peace Prize if he does all of that, all of what Hillary Clinton says. But here's the deal. He's not going to do that, and not because he doesn't want to do that, because he won't be able to. Because Vladimir Putin does not want to give up territory. In fact, he wants more. He wants all of Ukraine. He wants Kiev, where my family still is. And so I come to you tonight with one plea. Yes, this is my opinion, and I'm not going to be sharing it often, maybe not ever again. But in this situation, it's too important not to. I'm going to keep speaking up, and I encourage you to join me in speaking out. Subscribe to support my work, and I'll see you after the press conference between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin.
Follow Blue Eye Media for exclusive insights and breaking news sources from global-friendly outlets that you won't get from the mainstream TV and radio outlets of America. Learn how to play the flute of the globe and learn the real truth.